Hi, my name is Dave Smith. As you know, or may not know, I took over the running of the Gosport Community Waterfront Festival back in 1998-99, I think, when it was running as an event on the back of a trailer down at the ferry. Down there, it became quite complicated on safety issues, so we decided we would move it from there back onto Walpole Park, the festival's spiritual home. Then, we've run quite successfully. We changed things around and got rid of the trailer and used proper stage. We got in proper acts and made the event even more family friendly. We hired concessions in that would help fund the event. The council were obviously, as far as the funding were concerned, they were putting in 30,000 and I was left to go out and get the rest, whether it be from stallholders, sponsorship or whatever, to help make the event free, which it was, of course, for many years, and run quite successfully for many years until 2011, when the council decided they were going to pull the funding. They pulled the funding. They looked after, they still looked after the finances as such that they agreed that they would lend the actual committee members, if you like, a sum of money, and I can't remember, 30 or 40,000, so they could pay their, the bills could be paid up front as the council used to do. And of course, as the money came in from sponsorship and what have you, that obviously the council would then carry on, and as per normal, really, they would pay the bills on our behalf, and we would pay them back as the money came in. Although others were trying to say that we were actually given money by the council, that's not exactly true at all. What they'd done, they paid the bills direct to the companies as they came in, and all the sponsorship money came in, and everything else, concessions, went to the council, and that was the end of that. In 2012, I decided I didn't want to do that either, so a new committee was set up, consisting of myself. The chairman of the committee was Councillor Mark Hook, Councillor Justin Henshaw, Dale Fletcher, Graham Grant of GS Building Services, and Debbie Grant of GS Building Services were all on the board, and it was agreed at that first meeting that Graham Grant would be the site manager. It was agreed that I would obtain a premises licence in my name, and that Graham Grant would also be added to that premises licence for transparency. I actually paid for the premises licence myself, and it came to who was going to look after the incomings and outgoings, who's going to set up a bank account. Nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wanted to get involved. So I was asked if I would do it, and I said, on the proviso that there would be somebody from this committee that could oversee what was going on, so every penny that came in and every penny that went out was accountable. That was agreed. It was agreed that Mr. Fletcher would do that, and he did that, and he did a good job. He was in this office where I'm talking to you from now, and oversaw everything, and there were no issues with Dale and myself or any other member of the committee, apart from the fact that they wanted to run the event in the June instead of our August date because of the celebrations for the Queen that year. I was not actually overly keen on that, but the others wanted it, and then that's what happened. Mark Hook had done a deal with the bar company that would pay us 17,000 for the 3 days, plus they would guarantee 12,000 in gate receipts. So that was all fine. Mark also dealt with the, as chairman of the St John's Ambulance, he dealt with hiring them and their bill. Dale dealt with the PRS and other little bits and pieces like that, and I carried on doing what I've always done. The reality was that in 2012 the numbers were well down, the weather was wet, but not only was it wet, that doesn't normally bother gospel people, but it wasn't just wet, it was cold. And not only was it not, wet and cold, but there was far too many other events going on in that weekend and in that week, which were my fears at the outset. So we had storeholders pulling off without paying. The week leading up to that event, I'd had cancer removed from my right ear. Although I was on site, I didn't feel at all well, and as it turned out, I was quite ill, and I had to leave site on the Sunday morning, and I never went back to it. So what went on the Sunday afternoon and Monday, I haven't got a clue. But anyway, monies weren't collected, or the right amount of monies weren't collected from storeholders, which Dal was in charge of, and there was a massive loss. And I had invoices, or we had invoices that were addressed to DLP Festival Management on behalf of the festival that needed paying. I paid personally for the PA and the stage and lighting and what have you, the bands, and there was a shortfall of £12,000 for other, for bits and pieces that I also paid, because I felt, as I'd overseen this event from its conception, I felt somewhat responsible. And of course, it was agreed that in 2013, going back to 2012, before I jumped the gun, 2012 we were going to have, because I was no longer a councillor, I was going to take a remuneration of £5,000 for the amount of work that I'd put into it. And of course, as I've already said, that never happened. I didn't get the £5,000. In actual fact, I ended up spending out 12. So there you are. Instead of having the £17,000 in my bank balance, at the end of it, I was minus 12. So in 2013, obviously, we were going to, over the years, recoup the 12,000 that I'd lost. But I made it clear to the others that I would not want anything to do with the money side of it, and that they would have to get someone else in to look after that. I'll come back in part 2 and I'll take you on from 2012.